And it's time now to talk about the Brewers because it's officially here. It's officially here, talking about the judgment time, the time when you stop saying it's too early, right? And you start saying it's past Memorial Day and it's time to actually take a look at this club and see what we got. And you knew for a week, 2 weeks now, wasn't going to be pretty. And we're here. It's not pretty at all. It stinks. Brewers are 19-30. We're not even a third of the way through the season completely. We're about 30%, so we got over 2/3 left to go. If you remember now on the show way back there on May 6th, I said, let's go 11-8 over the next 19 games, 11-8 over the next 19, and you can be 25-24 after Memorial Day. So what'd they do? That was the official cheeseheadtalk.com litmus test for the Brewers. That was what it was. So what did they end up doing? Oh, they went 5-14. So 5-14 for the Crew in their last 19. They are 19-30. And what's more troubling, it's not something you feel like they're going to snap out of. People talk about last year. Well, one, they still weren't that great last year. They made a nice little run, but they weren't that great. And you know what? Their final record was a little over 500. They got to within a game of a wild card with 10 games to play, but the Cardinals, like the Cardinals do, just played them down the stretch tough, and the Brewers ended up, a few games back. But the Pirates collapsed last year. The Reds won the division. The Cardinals were mediocre. Now all three of those teams appear to be very, very strong. Will one of them collapse? Probably. But here's the bigger problem for the Brewers. It's not those teams. The situation this year is different. It's a different year. It's not those teams that they're well behind now at 19-30, way back in the division, trading last place swabs with the Cubs, really. So it's not those teams. It's the fact that your pitching rotation is what it is. One of those guys, Willie Peralta, pitched yesterday and, gave the Brewers 100-plus pitches, and that meant 5 innings. And he's a guy that is young and, it can be frustrating. I get it. But he's young, and what are you going to do? Well, the real thing the Brewers should focus on doing now, and I think Ron Renneke might have hinted at this in the post-game press conference yesterday, and he's probably not thinking this way, but we might as well start thinking this way about positioning your club for the future and trying to get a guy like Willie Peralta who's got, we keep hearing, big upside, trying to get him ready to go, right? So how do you best do that? Well, here's Ron Renneke after the ball game yesterday.
He's got tremendous upside, but he's got to be confident when he's doing this. How do you get a guy confident? I mean, it comes with success, and right now he's not that guy. We have discussions about it all the time, and I'm sure Doug will talk about it again. But somewhere we need to get this guy going, and however best that is to do it, then we'll do it.
So however best it is to do it, they'll do it. What does that mean? That means you could send him down, right? You could send him down to AAA, have him work on some things. He does have good upside. We keep hearing it. He has certainly kept the Brewers, for the most part, in ball games, but he hasn't been what you need him to be. So that's an example, right? And who do you replace him with? Well, probably somebody who's not going to be able to get you a lot of wins, for the rest of the season. But as far as I'm concerned now, you look at, here we are again, about the 1/3 point of the season, just short of it. And you are what you are. And you could make a run, and God knows the Brewers are probably going to get hot at some point and make a run. But is that really something that's good, or is it just going to give us false hope? Or should Doug Melvin, Ron Renneke, Mark Adonasio, should they sit there and say now, kind of like the Justin Hull theory that we keep hearing about that I'm starting to come around to, let's just try and position this thing for maybe the year after next and get these young arms ready to go and not trade away prospects and not try and make deals to be kind of competitive now, but make a serious run where you can be good for a 2, 3, 4, 5 year stretch. Maybe 5's pushing it with the small market Brewers. You got your bats there. Those aren't going to go away. It doesn't matter. What matters is your pitching. Duh. It's only been that way in baseball since 1865, whenever it was invented, right? Pitching. So I did this. I went through and ranked the pitchers. And this isn't very hard to do. You can do it too. But as far as how they should measure up in a major league rotation, as far as what spot in the rotation, look at Yovani Gallardo. He's a 2. Career-wise. This year he's not even a 2. He might be a 3. He's been stinky. But he's a 2 career-wise when you look at it. Kyle Loesch, 2 to 3 career-wise. Last couple of years he's been a 2. This year we'll see. Marco Estrada, about a 3, right? Maybe 4, but I would say 3. He's good enough to to give you outings like he did in the game the Brewers won that before. Remember that last weekend against the Pirates? Willie Peralta right now is a 5 at best. He's a 5. Hopefully, he's got potential to maybe be a 2, but he's a 5 right now. Mike Fiers is a 7. I don't even know who the 5th starter in the rotation is right now. Fiers, Burgos, is Narveson going to come back? If Narveson comes back, he's a 4 to 5, right? But what's that going to get you? Do you need an ace? No, you don't necessarily need an ace. Look, the Brewers won 96 games in 2011 and got to within a couple of games of the World Series, not really having an ace. Greinke wasn't pitching like an ace. He was good, but he wasn't an ace. He was a 2. Gallardo, a 2 that year. And you had Markham and Randy Wolf, who probably came in at 3s. And they had great offense, and they won 96 games. And they had a good bullpen, clearly, right? So that was the formula. So you don't need to pay guys $150 million to be an ace. You're not going to be able to do that. That's not the formula. But you've got to develop some of these arms, and you might need to spend time this year doing that. Unfortunately, it's tough to have that conversation the day after Memorial Day, but here we are. So that's really the big issue. That's the main thing. I mean, what are you going to do about the offense? Keep developing guys. This team has been able to hit for a lot of years now. The only time they're competitive is when they can pitch. So that's my official post-Memorial Day report. I told you I'd give it to you. I know you were waiting for it. So that's the official cheeseheadtalk.com assessment post-Memorial Day of the Brewers.